Okay, we're live. Hey everybody, this is Tori Townley with the Serve Day team. I hope everybody's doing great today. Welcome to the Serve Brew. Hope you got your coffee. Today I get the great honor of hanging out with two amazing guys who are basically geniuses and entrepreneurs. Their names are Brad. I'm going to say Boyer because I'm Cajun, and I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's how I'm going to say it. And Ty Rogers. I'm going to introduce them. They are the masterminds behind something called HisKingdom, and they're going to share with us today about how this idea can be something really great for your church and your serve for your community. So welcome to the Serve Brew, and I am going to introduce you guys now. Hey.
Hi. Hey, thanks for having us. It's really fun to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome, and especially be referred to as the masters behind HisKingdom. Yeah. I'll leave that to Jesus, but we've got another version coming up.
I didn't think about that, the mastermind of HisKingdom. That's awesome. Cool. So if you guys want to, just take a second and kind of introduce yourselves first, and then we'll jump into HisKingdom and stuff like that. So I'm going to mute my mic.
All right. So I'm Brad. Boyer or Boyer. It depends on where you're at in the world. I've been called everything. And so I grew up in the Midwest. I'm a friend of the church here, which is Crossroads. And I do a lot of things with a lot of churches around here. 4 or 5 churches I'm constantly working with just as friends. And Ty and I have known each other for a long time. I've got 4 kids. From 1 year old to 11 years old, 3 boys and a girl. So, and then what I do during the day, I'm a software architect. And then I'm also just a friend of the church, and I help out in any way I can. I've got a real strong passion for people connecting and serving in the community. So.
Good deal. I'm Ty Rogers. I'm a groups pastor here at Crossroads Community. Came from the industry of leading edge automotive industry and being in the creative department, and then moving here into our church in this group's pastoral. It's a blessing to be able to see this many people come together in community, and that's kind of really where we got kicked off. I'm married 15 years. I have 2 children, 13, and my daughter's birthday was just this weekend. She's 11, and I got to have a great family fun camping and boating with myself, a buddy, and 8 little girls. So I'm a little tired, so bad, you know why.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. So you guys are awesome. And the way that we got connected was back in June. Mr. Brad, you had emailed us for Serve Day. We were getting ready for our big Serve Day with all the 316 churches who joined in. And you were like, hey, so we have this awesome thing going on in Kokomo, and wanted to let you guys know about it, and told us that you had like dozens of churches serving your community. And we're like, what the heck? What are these people doing? What is the idea, the great idea that's getting people together in their community? So that's when we connected and heard about this awesome idea. So tell me a little bit about what this idea is and what you guys work to do to connect people in their communities.
Yeah. So as you heard Ty tell his story a little bit, he went from being a creative designer in the automotive world to a major shift in his life to get into ministry. And so I've also, you can call it a midlife crisis or whatever, but I didn't want to buy a Corvette. I wanted to like make a difference. Like, you only see so much time left in this world, and I want to spend like every minute for Christ. And I always get teary-eyed when I say that. But so what I wanted to do was, when he made that change, I really wanted to look at like making that change too. So I gave him a call at the end of the week, and I said, hey, how was your first week? And he's like, oh my gosh, Brad, I've got to put, was it 1,500 people in groups?
1,800.
1,800 people in new groups. They just laid that on me in my first week. And so we started to talk and brainstorm, and then we ended up working on, this is our logo here for HisKingdom. And so I'd never really thought about taking skills in software and trying to apply them to God's kingdom. I just always came to church. I play guitar and I sing and I write songs, and that was my thing at church. And so God really was like, no, you've got other skills. Bring them to the table too. So you want to tell a little bit about the story of that phone call?
Yeah, sure. For myself, it was like Brad said, I stood here, watched all these people come through our number of services, and how in the world am I ever going to get them to connect or even know that they go to these opposite services? And I just shared with Brad, I said, my goodness, when they said 1,800 people, it was a number to me. But then when you see all these faces, how in the world are we going to get them to connect? So as Brad and I started to talk, we decided that, okay, there's got to be a way. And literally, it was 3 weeks into it. I mean, I'd only been here now 3 weeks. And I woke up with on my heart, literally impressed on my heart was online dating. And I'm like, and it wouldn't go away. And I'm like, how in the world is this, is this even a part of the game? And so when I shared that with Brad, our history that we had at our previous employer, we worked together, we did something maybe similar. And we're like, how can we bring that into the church world and be able to connect people and allow them to move past where they're at today?
Yeah, so we started with groups and connecting through affinity or common interests and all that, and that's all we were going to do together. And so I thought, I've got a heart for people to be motivated. So when the Holy Spirit tugs at your heart when you're in the church, I want you to follow that immediately and ask the church, hey, I've had this vision while the pastor spoke this morning or while we sang this song. I want to create like a women's Bible study. Or I've got this neighbor that really needs a wheelchair ramp, and I really want to build that. I don't know how to do that. So with the HisKingdom software that we built, you can actually do that. You can get on your phone and say, ask the church to express a need, and then the church will come to you and say, hey, yeah, that's a great project. Do you want to lead it, or do you need help? And then it goes live, and anyone that has an account that you've shared it with can help you out. And so we started with like a speed dating event.
Yeah, we never referenced it like that. That was our internal verbiage.
No. We never went live with like, this is a speed dating event. But what we wanted to do was try to get as many people through groups as we could in that short amount of time. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, and literally probably the way we referenced it the most was it was kind of a mixer. So everybody was able to go ahead and see what the groups were that were going to be available. They came, they filled out what we called as their survey, because we tried to stay away from everything that lended itself to online dating. So no profiles, it was a survey, and we kind of learned a lot through that process. But when they showed up to the event, there were leaders that sat around all these tables, and they were able to go ahead and meet with the leaders that matched them the best. So they were able to fill out their survey, and then in that survey, give them their top 3, 4, and then those are the 3, 4 that they could concentrate on instead of having to go all of them, finding that some of them didn't even apply. So when they came, they were able to do that, and then that night they left with a group that they matched with the best, and then they went and did that 8-week, we call it a test drive.
Yeah, well, it was really cool as people would show up and they'd take a look at their phone or a tablet that we provided, and they would just log in. They'd have their they'd fill out a survey just talking about themselves, like how big your family is, where do you live, what kind of stuff do you like to do, and then they would sit there, and when it would match them up, they'd sit and compare, like, hey, what group did it tell you, like, and then they'd compare. So it became like a game, and it was really fun, and so that was really cool to see. And then by the end of the night, I'm like heads down trying to help everybody in their account, get everything ready to go. People were going to we had 3 sessions, and people could go and meet each other at their tables. Like you're 20 minutes in, and you see if there's a match or not, right, at the table. And then you move to the next table and see if that's a better fit for you. And by the end of the night, everybody had kind of settled in, and the room was just buzzing with about 200 people? Mm-hmm. About 200 people that were there, and the room was just buzzing with just conversation, and people had found their groups and settled in. And several of the people there had really struggled with trying to find a group here. So,
and that's kind of probably one of the points that I'll hit on too, is that there are so many people, as we all know, that are in the church and they would love to serve, but they don't know how to get plugged in. And that's another opportunity that what this brings. Just like these people that came and wanted to get plugged into a group. Yeah, I'd love to be in a group or a small community. Yeah. What does that look like? I don't even know where to begin. So they just don't get engaged. And that's where this is a tool, like we'll talk about too with serving, is we'll be able to match in a way that, oh my goodness, this is a great experience. I'll do this again.
Yeah, so we started with the group side, and then we decided how did the Serve Together stuff start? Like, what was the initial idea of how to start the countywide Serve
Sure.
event?
So there was within our own pastoral team where we have a tactical staff where we all get together, and we're a Crossroads community church. So we're about the community. We're not getting outside the four walls. And we want to say, hey, how can we go ahead and become really, truly one church? And that really kind of got breathed into us through Revive Indiana. I don't know if that's, I know
Time to Revive.
Yeah, Time to Revive, based out of Texas. They're going ahead and they're traveling around. They're in Ohio right now. That really helped us to see that, this isn't about a church, it's about the church. So how can we partner up with other churches and serve our community? And it was such a neat experience in that way of people going, okay, what church are you from? And then the group of 8 people said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different churches. And they're like, wait a minute, what's that all about?
Yeah.
And as you guys experienced, I'm sure as well, when you do that and you partner up, the people that are unchurched or the people that don't quite understand, when they hear that answer, they're like, well, that's what I thought it always should be. And I just never saw that.
Yeah, when we first started, you first contacted me. I think you were up to 8 to 10 churches, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, we're going to try to use His Kingdom, but there's like 8 to 10 churches, and we only had 3 months from start to finish. So 3 months before, he comes to me 3 months before, and the software wasn't even ready yet. So I'm like, I lost a lot of sleep, and you can see that like right here. I still haven't recovered. And so we built the software, we got it out there, and we trained all the churches. Well, the next thing you know, it goes from 8 to 10 churches to 41. And then we had almost 20 charities. Was it about 20 charities?
Sounds about right.
Yeah, there's about 20 charities, and they all came together. So and from the start to finish in 3 months, we got together with 41 churches, 20 charities, and did a county-wide Serve event. So, yeah.
Yep. The Serve event, too, that was really neat to see everybody that came, and we purchased red shirts. So everybody that went out, everybody had a red shirt, and they were in uniform. And then after the Serve event on Sunday, we had basically a Serve worship event where we went to our local newly built, it's a local team, Kokomo Jackrabbits, and the stadium holds 4,000, and we literally had packed it out, and we literally had an intentional worship team that was made up of, I forget, maybe 10 to 12 different churches, all on the platform. And then we had, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 different pastors from different churches. So we were truly embodying what it looks like to be one church.
Yeah, it was really cool. And so that for the Serve event too, what was really, what blew my mind was the projects that came in. We actually out with, that's why we had 20 charities. They had expressed some needs in the community for projects. And so we were just going to work with the charities and do these projects, and then let the churches come together through His Kingdom and let people sign up. And it turned into something completely different. So we decided, we prayed about it, and the leaders said, well, let's just open it up to the people and let the people of the community express what they need, and let anyone in the community sign up to serve. And so what we did was we let anyone sign up to serve, even if you're unchurched. You could sign up for the event only, and you could express a need through, and we could match anyone in the community to any of their needs through the Serve Day event. So you can see how that got very complicated very quickly. Plus, a lot of the projects were highly skilled. And so we're worried about safety, and we're worried about, well, can we actually pull this off? 2 of the ones that, there's actually 3 that always come to mind. One was a lady lives in town, and she needed an old dead tree removed. Now, you don't just ask volunteers to come and cut down an old tree in the middle of town. And so I'm like, that doesn't sound safe. But we did skills matching through the His Kingdom software, and there's a guy in the church, that's what he does for a living. So he shows up and says, do you want me to go rent a cherry picker and do this? Because I'm ready to go. And then we had 2 other projects. We actually have some contractors here that build homes, and they re-roofed someone's house in 6.5 hours one day. And it was like 95 degrees that day, and they stripped it. They put all new shingles down, all in 6.5 hours. And then the last one was, there's a teen, what do you call it, like a teen retreat?
Yeah.
Or a teen gathering?
Center.
Yeah, teen center. Thank you. And it's a really old building in a smaller town. It was actually in a different county, but we came together with them, and their floor had 18 inches of sag in the floor. So we actually jacked up the floor, built a beam, and leveled the floor. And there's a really cool video of all these kids jumping up and down in a praise situation, like they're doing praise and worship, and they've never been able to jump on that floor. So it was just very, very cool.
Yeah, and just to tag on with the whole needs-based and being able to skills match, that's probably one of the most beneficial parts of the experience, because I always use this example. I don't like painting, but I've been on like other projects where, okay, hey, your team's going to paint, and you're like, oh my goodness. So you get there and you serve with a willing heart and you're happy, kind of, and then you come back and they ask you, how is it?
Well, I got to paint.
Yeah, great.
And I met some people, but
the power is behind it is when you do the skills. Say I really like landscaping. I was actually able to do a landscaping project, and so when I came back, I was fulfilled to do it again, and I couldn't wait. So that's the experience that we heard, is that these people were able to actually take their skills for the glory of God and be totally fulfilled and joyful and couldn't wait to do it again. So we were setting them up for success based on skills matching.
Yeah, and the other cool thing was, we were at a football field at the old Kokomo High School, and when you ask people to skills match and they serve with their skills, they have equipment, they have tools, they've got front loaders and trailers, and I never thought about that. Like, going into this, that was not a benefit that I saw ahead of time. But when we got to the field, there were people bringing bobcats and front loaders and trailers and all the tools they needed, because they knew what they were going to do. That's what they loved to do, and they showed up ready to serve. So it was pretty cool. It was a very emotional weekend. Like, him and I didn't sleep probably for a month and a half, more than 3 hours a night at the end. But man, the day of, like, well, I don't know how many times we like hugged each other in the middle of the field out of exhaustion and excitement. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah, it was cool to see people mobilizing and going out. And the deal was we wanted everybody to come to one central place. So that was the football field. And everybody see the sea of red shirts. And then we had them broken down by colored flags about what your group was. And then we were able to pray over everybody and send them out. So the thing was, come and let us send you out instead of just going to your work site. This just gave that unity, so it helps strengthen that bond of one church.
Yeah, the other cool thing that we got to do, let's tell the story of the car dealership. So we did HisKingdom live, and remember, we opened it up to the whole community, so you could just show up the day of and say, I want to serve. And I mean, if you're going to try to do that with spreadsheets and email or across 41 churches and 20 organizations, that's not going to happen. Like, and so what we did was we have like live mode in the software. So you're live and people walk in through the gate and they're like, I want to serve. And so we skills matched them on the fly. And so they create an account, so then you can follow up with them later on if they're not churched, old church, and they just thought last minute they're going to show up. And so it's really cool. What we ended up doing was, as people sign up, projects disappear from the system, so you don't see them anymore if they're full. Like, and so what that does is, when they do skills matching, they only have to fill out the survey for skills that are needed. So live, real time, what's going on with all the skills. And so you show up, and I bring 10 people from my church, and we show up. So we all fill it out. We do skills matching, and we had color coordinated projects. So if you'd sign up and you matched, you're like, I want to do that project. Well, they all started with like purple, and we had a purple banner out on the field, and you'd be like, see that purple area over there? Go find your leader, they're named such and such, and that's your project. And so people could show up the day of at any serving block and just go skills match and have a really wonderful experience in real time. But what we did was we partnered with a car dealership, so we could have a lot of cars now, like especially GM cars, have Wi-Fi built in. So they donated 6 cars that we could use over the 2 days, and we built like a Wi-Fi network that we were using the software at every gate into the football field. And so you'd walk in, and we'd give you an iPad, we'd help you fill it out, and we'd point to this thing, and off you went. So it was very cool.
It was, and it was neat.
Tell the story about the dealership too.
So I have the connection at the dealership, and he's a great friend, and he's a believer, and he got behind it right away. And so after I share the story with him, he goes ahead, and then he's like, well, can we get involved too? So he opened it up through their HR department, and their HR department sent it out in their newsletter and said, hey, here's a way for you guys to get involved and for you to be able to serve. So it went from these charities to now businesses are jumping in and helping other people, and it just kind of snowballed for obviously his glory. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's been quite the roller coaster. I mean, all from a phone call just to see how his quote unquote new job is going, right? So it's like just out of a personal interest of thinking about a life change. It's been, I know I hear a lot of people say, like I hear like pastors say it too when they talk about sermons, where I would have never anticipated, like I just hang on for the ride and watch what God's going to do. Well, this is the first time in my life that I've really experienced that. Like I could have never coordinated. This call right here with you is this perfect example, right? Just by me, somebody brought up, hey, have you seen this Serve Day thing that's going on? And so I emailed you, and then we became friends that way. I mean, it's amazing. I'm really excited about where God's taking us next. So, yeah,
that's a good call.
That's so cool. I have so many thoughts just from you guys going on. Like there's so many things that I could say, oh, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. But the thing that's just putting me in awe, just even like I've already talked with you guys, but sitting here again, I'm just like, man, you guys truly put in so much of your heart and your passion to see on earth as it is in heaven. Like the church, just like you say, that's your heart, is to build his kingdom here on earth. And it's like, how often do we get to look around and show each other this kind of love, but showing everybody that they have a purpose and being able to give them that. So like I might have this skill, but I don't know how to use it. And I might have a need, but I don't know the first place of where to look. But allowing the church to be the answer, whether you're currently in church or you're not, you have a place in God's kingdom. And I think that's the most beautiful thing that you guys are doing, that you're helping people find that, you're architecting that. And that is, it just blows my mind, like on earth as it is in heaven. One of my favorite analogies, I'm going to shut up in a second, but one of my favorite analogies in life, and I talk about it all the time, is that I think that eternity, humanity, we are all part of this giant kaleidoscope. We're all just this tiny little broken piece. We've got junk. We're not that great on our own, but God puts us together. We get to reflect on each other. He adds his light. We start doing things in motion, and our brokenness reflects on each other, and then this beautiful masterpiece is made. And that's like exactly what you guys are talking about. You're expanding this kaleidoscope. I live in it, so I'm just like, wow, this is amazing. So that's my 2 cents. Y'all are beautiful. That's my trippy version of it, so I'm translating it. But
that we're looking for a potential renaming of his kingdom to Kaleidoscope. We'll have to let you know how that comes out.
Yeah, I like that.
Let me know. I like that too. Of course I do. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to let you guys keep going on your story for sure, like if there's more to talk about. But this is something that clearly Serve Day, like I feel like you guys captured the heart of what we're also doing with Serve Day, and that's just to celebrate churches and people in general, businesses, whoever it is, getting in action to love their community, and not just for an event, but as a culture every single day. So it's beautiful that that's like, obviously it's God's heart, but it's just cool that we're kind of like parallel right now. And I know that there's at least 316 churches that we are showing this to, and many more. So if they're interested in something like this is a tool that can be incredible, just to help make the load a lot easier on them, but also just to enhance their experience. So if a church is interested, or a group or a business or whoever it might be, what would you guys say to them, and what's some practical stuff on how they can get more information?
Cool. I want to start out as to just help build the need or build the case for why it's important to a church. Like when I look at our church, and I was okay, serving, awesome, volunteerism. So after the Serve Day took place, we were able to go ahead and look at, okay, now I look at our Crossroads church. Here's all the people that served in Crossroads. Here's their skills. So now that comes back to me as a pastor, and I can see, oh my goodness, we have this many people with these gifts, with these skills, and it continues to grow. So there's the skills-based matching, but then you can take your spiritual gifts test, and now I can look at that from the other end and go, oh my goodness, it could impact literally our sermons. So we find out that maybe these, so this amount of people have these gifts or these skills. And,
or hobbies or whatever,
And you can bake that into, so when I'm preparing in my mind, or when our lead pastor is preparing his mind, he can think about that, and it's more tangible, it's more real right then and there.
Yeah, so before we talk about how to get a hold of us, I want to talk, if it's okay, a little bit about the tornadoes that came through Kokomo, and the perfect example of how the heart of serving was reinvigorated. So Serve Together happened in June, and it's been 3 weeks now since the tornadoes hit, roughly. Yeah. So we had 10 tornadoes come through Kokomo, and one was an F3, and it went straight down the same path that it went 3 years ago and destroyed the same neighborhood. And I mean, it looks like end times downtown in certain areas. It totally destroyed some things. Mm-hmm. And so what was awesome out of all that was, after the tornado, people just started to get on social media and said, we need another Serve Together Kokomo. We've got to get, it's like Serve Together started again. So all of those people that served in June caught the fever in June, and then they just started talking about it. And so what happened then was we stood up the self sign up and everything for HisKingdom again, just like Serve Together, but we call it Serve Together Restore Kokomo. And so then people started to sign up and do skills matching, but this time for disaster recovery, we just made big blocks and set up a tent downtown where people could just come and meet and serve. So bring a chainsaw and rakes and bags and water and just go help out. And you could do skills matching too from that. But the whole idea was broadcast the skills you need, let the people be alerted, because it does automatic alerting. It'll tell you, hey, this might match you or whatever. And so then people knew about it. But one thing that we did that was really cool, everybody that served, like you said, we knew who all had served. So we turned off all the filtering and we put in a project, and then it blasted all 4,000 people that we had from Serve Together knew about, hey, there's another need, another opportunity, motivated to serve, that had already served one time again. And so that was really powerful.
Yeah, and what was neat about it, you knew that people caught the vision and that they wanted to serve again, because I can't tell you the number of red shirts that came out.
Yeah.
When you looked out, and it wasn't anything that we said, hey, put your red shirt on and come serve. It was, hey, that mentality is still there, and now I've got another mechanism to go ahead and use that.
Yeah. The other thing that was cool is, I think God had a plan for this all along. Like we started with groups and connections and affinity and all of this, common interests. And there's a reason, because when you serve together, you may do skills matching or you may not. But when you serve together, you learn about each other. You're sweaty and you're down in the dirt, or you're whatever, like lifting with people and, and seeing the pain, and you're sharing. But then you also learn that, hey, I didn't know you hate painting, but you love landscaping. So now we have something in common. Or you're a motorcycle rider too. I didn't know that. So now you can connect. So now that's what the other beauty of HisKingdom, by us starting with groups in affinity, we were able to like create groups that people can it'll go to the church and you can describe it. And the church will say, yeah, that's great, go for it. And now all these guys or women that you've served with could join your motorcycle club. So that affinity, that connection grows. And so the churches become deeply tied. And that's what we're trying to do. Like every day You want to be a part of something bigger, not just the walls of your church. Well, just like the ARC network, that's the vision of that, is to work together, right? To be bigger than your one building. And that's the vision that him and I are very passionate about. The world needs us to be together, right? We need to come together as his kingdom.
Exactly. And for me, being vested as the groups person that has these certain numbers and metrics that, you know, that we shoot out there to be able to attach to, we're to the point now where our lead pastor has such a large vision that the number of people he wants to see in groups are larger than the number of people that attend. And so you go, well, how do you do that? Well, it's community based. And that's him saying, you know what? I believe that this community, we're meant to reach every man, woman, and child in this greater area. So when we talk about sitting down and sweating and getting to know each other, the goal for me, which didn't happen this time because everything was so fast paced, and when we opened it up, we realized that somebody would suggest a project, but there wasn't necessarily a leader at that point. So we were spending as much time trying to get leaders for the project as we were getting people for the projects. But what's the beauty of it is my vision is to see this next round is that there's this inherent, oh, hey, you know what? You start a motorcycle club, that you actually create a group. You can start a community. And even if it's only once a month, like, hey, I had a great time serving with you, Brad. Yeah, hey, let's go ahead and let's meet at the McDonald's on last Saturday of the month at 8 a.m. Yeah. And then we'll, you know, do whatever, get together and go out. And so that's part of my heart too, is to kind of get that culture shift, as you're talking about too, of serving, but then also doing life in community so that we're not doing life alone.
I love how you guys, yes, we were talking about the culture building, but I think that it's cool how with the tornadoes, like you guys did such a good job with the Serve Kokomo in June that people, you didn't even have to ask, like people wanted it because obviously you cracked a code. There's some kind of magic in the fact that they felt needed. They loved the feeling of being able to serve and make a difference, that they wanted it. So they're now driving it. So like there's magic in letting people own something. I think sometimes as leaders, like we feel like it's our job to carry the whole thing, plan it all out, make it all happen. And yeah, that's part of our responsibility, but really the responsibility is to empower people in their dreams and their goals and their passions. And so that's something that you guys definitely did very well. And I just think it's cool that they wanted it. They wanted it back and you didn't have to beg for it. You just made it happen. And then you said something about how ARC is all about doing stuff together as the church. And I think that that's so true. And that's how Serve Day is. That's how the church should be. So one of our phrases is don't do ministry alone and don't serve alone. Don't do life alone. Don't do anything alone. And it's not just about outreach per se. My heart is that outreach is not even a term hardly anymore because it's just life. We're just there to love people and serve people. So amazing that this crosses over not just one segment, it's all of life. And you guys just, it's like this cool thing that fades to the back, but it's this amazing structure that allows people to be fulfilled. So I just want to say thank you for that. Like that is, it's such a gift to the world that you guys took time to do this in blood, sweat, and tears. I know dreams are not easy, but y'all stuck it out. And so thank you, that's so beautiful. And then one more thought that I wrote down, I keep taking notes and then like jumping back, but I love that you said that the disaster relief, I was just thinking about how obviously there's more and more disasters in the world and that's horrible, but the church, it's our job to be ready to respond to that. And I actually went to Louisiana a couple weeks ago for the big floods that happened, which were devastating. I'm actually from there, so I had a lot of family affected. But I got to go with my dad and visit. After we like worked on some houses, we also got to visit some of the churches in the area and see what they were doing to respond, utilizing volunteers, resources, taking in needs. And it was beautiful to see. There was probably about 15 churches we went to visit, and many of them were working together. And it was beautiful. But I just thought about like this platform that you guys have built, how much better disaster relief even could be, because it is regional. It is like we are all in the same boat at the same time when a disaster hits. So this resource you guys have made, not only for everyday stuff, but especially for like something like that, is huge. So even if a church is looking just to try it out, like this is, I just think it would be really cool to have that, especially for things emergency based. just wanted to point that out. I just thought that was really cool. So
very key. Like that's the key to it, is we shift the culture. People see a different lifestyle, if you will, right? We pick up a shovel together, we serve together, we find a common interest together, we grow the church together, we knock down the walls, and we start to serve and respond. And then when a disaster comes, it's just a habit. Like, it's a good habit. And now we just go out and do it. Like, we don't even think about it. We get an alert through His Kingdom. We get our friends together, and bam, you're out there and you're in the community. You put your red shirt on and off you go. You know, I mean, that's what we want. Like,
yeah, and I'm thinking the same thing, Brad. And what I don't want to say is, like, we as His Kingdom, and I don't think we've alluded to that, but there is other agencies that came on the scene too, right? Yeah. We had Red Cross, we had United Way, we had Bridges Outreach with a couple of guys that have a community and also one church. And His Kingdom was just another avenue, another asset to help with this. And I love it. It's the culture shift, and if we can add to that, then and that's what we want to be. We're a team, and we want to come alongside, and we want to be I don't even know if appendage is the right word, but in a healthy way, you know, to be able to do that, to help churches.
So I'm an appendage.
Yeah. I'm not going to talk about which
one. The one thing too is, like, this is the way I viewed the tornado relief was. United Way, Red Cross, FEMA, all those great organizations. They're boots on the ground. They're first responders. It's awesome. If I can get one person to come and help them that would have never gotten off their couch or never served before, then His Kingdom and all these hours that we've spent together was well worth it, because they can serve and have an impact in their life, and someday they may be in our kingdom together, in God's kingdom. So, I mean, to me, it's worth all the blood, sweat, tears, and all of the sleep that I miss and all that stuff. So, I mean,
that's cool. I like that y'all are about intersections. So I was talking with some of my friends who are outreach leaders in New Orleans and different places in the country today. I had a couple of girls get together, and we were just talking about the importance of helping people find their value, whether they're young or old, whoever they are, and just the intersection of letting people. So, like, as the church, it's not just our job to serve those who are hurting, but it's also our job to help people find their feet, help them find their action, because they're hurting on the inside too. So it's like everybody's a least of these in their own way, and Jesus is inside of all of us, and we reflect each other, like I was saying. But I think that it's cool that it works multidimensional. This thing that you guys are doing, what the church does as a whole, is multidimensional, all kinds of directions, and it works. So very, very cool dynamics you guys have going on. Okay, so what else do you guys want to share about, like, more about the story, more about the vision, or anything practical? We have a little bit of time, so feel free to keep gushing vision. Y'all have so much amazing stuff, so I don't want to hog the mic.
I can talk a little bit about the vision and what you can expect from us, like from the software. So right now we built this software platform, and anyone can use it, but we want to redo it. Like our heart is, this needs to be like world class. So we want it to be just on par with any app that you would download. Create this, like, instead of going to Facebook, you come to His Kingdom or a Kaleidoscope, and you download this app, and serving and connecting and being a part of the community and being Churches Without Walls is all part of where you spend your time, right? Instead of like checking status and doing all that, like, you can see what the community's doing and learn and grow and serve together. And so what we're doing right now is, like, we're taking a step back, and we partnered with a company in Carmel, Indiana, and there's 100 software engineers there. We're going to partner together and create this world-class new app platform, and what we call Command Central, which would be like the church side. So you can see where the people are serving and manage these large events and all that. And that'll be ready in May. And we would love to be able to support a large event or any size event, honestly, from from a church of 100 people to a church of 25,000 to get impact into the community. And so right now, that's where we're putting our emphasis. What we built today, people are using in our community, and we'd love to work with people to do that. That's not the end. We're just getting started. Like, we've just cracked the seal open, right?
Yeah, I mean, literally, we started again with a connection that Brad had through an East Coast university, and that university really gifted us in a way of what they charged us. And for our church, being in the community, we went ahead and planted that seed to get us started, and that's really what's kind of kicked all this off and helped us kind of get moving.
Yeah.
And one of the things I was going to ask Brad, just share a little bit about safety, because as we move forward, the security and safety portion of it, and kind of how we work through that so people aren't creating groups that are not bringing glory to God. Some of the reasons. Yeah,
so I've got 20 years experience building software. I was a cloud architect for Microsoft for a while. I've worked for very big Fortune 50 companies and always done very cutting edge software development and big, large projects. Even in defense, I've worked in genetic research and things like that, building all of these different platforms. So I brought all that 20 years of experience to platform. And our goal has always been, you've got a secure password because we want it to be secure. Like, I don't want to be a Target or a Home Depot or a insurance company that things were leaked. Your data, all the churches don't see all the data. Your church sees your people. Your data is secure. We built that so you could have security in mind, so that you would have a collaboration space that's very safe. We don't want to sell ads. We're not going the Facebook model where, hey, if you like this, you might like that. We're all about collaboration. We want a safety zone that we can come together with. Churches and charities can come together and collaborate naturally, natively in this platform.
Yeah, that's kind of really what I was saying, because I know early when we started on, that was something that was going to be important. I mean, there needs to be a filter. So you identify those key people someone would create a group or create an event, and it need to go through someone to get that authorization so that there weren't just things getting created. And we even went through like male and female and even age requirements and some of those things to help kind of filter things down to who can even be in a group.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it too, is anything that's expressed by anyone goes straight up to the staff of the church. So now the staff of a church has this constant feed of people that are expressing needs to them, but it's manageable. So they have like a description, a phone number, an email, a name. It's not an index card on the side of your desk that someone handed you, or a connection card that they handed you in the foyer, and you're like, oh, what was that again? No, it's like, I've got it. Like, I can go straight to it. I can click on their phone number and get a hold of them. And so you can, and they're notified. So if you approve it, like, it goes right back to them and says, your group's live now. And so as soon as it goes live, it broadcasts it to whoever you advertised it to. So it could go to 10 churches immediately. And you've got 10 churches' resources that could sign up and help you with whatever you're trying to do. Or join your group to go have fun, or do a Bible study, or a small group, or a life group, or whatever you want to call that.
Yeah.
Yeah, too.
You can manage some things even on campus on a weekend too. You can do what we're even talking about is, how does His Kingdom mesh up with our church app? And so that the church app becomes personalized, that you're seeing things prioritized in the way of your interests.
Yeah.
And even checking in. I mean, what does check-in look like at, your church? Are they still passing the pew pad? Well, when I come in now, we could literally go ahead and do an attendance through His Kingdom, check in. And then that becomes digital. And then the people that are working at the desk on a Monday trying to collaborative put all together these numbers, it's right here. You go to the report that's built. So there's a lot of features, and that's what Brad was referring to too, is collaborative. So if another church has a request that we haven't thought of, oh, okay, that seems important enough to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one thing, like, to get a little techie. So if you can imagine, if you build a system like this and everybody's expressing their needs and it's all cowboyed up, if you will. Like you could send out a bunch of noise to a bunch of people. Well, I worked on some things like I'm not going to go that techie, but I've worked on some things that actually help you. One project, it was connected car, so it's like looking ahead and telling you what's on your route if it's bad weather, or you could talk to your car and say, hey, find me a find me a pizza place, and it will like bring back a custom pizza place for you that you like. So I took that and some of that knowledge and applied it to this world, and does is that reduces the noise. So things are customized and they come to you, and so you don't get spammed with like 40 things that you don't care about. Like when it comes to you, the likelihood of you wanting to serve or wanting to join is pretty high. But if you go to it, so if you log into His Kingdom, then you can actually look through any of it. And so if you're bored on a Saturday night and you want to find a group or you want to serve, you can literally like log in there and say, is there anything going on at the church tonight? Let's go do it. Or in the community tonight, and you could go serve. So it's a different behavior. I know that when the tornadoes came through, my wife and I, we have 4 kids, so from 1 year to 11 years old, so we don't get a whole lot of time together. So it's like serving, even though we were both sweaty and cutting down trees for 5 hours, that was a date. Like we enjoyed it. Like it was time to like serve together. And so we just signed up. That Sunday we went to church and we were both really convicted. Like, I don't want to let today go by without helping the tornado victims. And so we got in and I found a guy that I know. And we went out and served, and I brought my chainsaw and sawed trees for 5 hours together with my wife, which was a fun date.
Sure.
So
yeah, and I think about that too, is the number of things that you can do. You think about in a church, again, coming back to the church world, and I like kind of this balance of taking it out and staying inside. Yeah. But volunteerism, I think about the number of people that we have walk through these doors and the number of people that it takes or slots it takes to fill on a weekend to pull off a service. And there's people that have those skills, but they really don't know, what does it look like to be a tech guy? What does it look like to be a greeter at the door? How do I get that even motivated? And we're always working on our systems, but to be able to do that now with using His Kingdom, the people that manage volunteers are loving it. They're like, oh my goodness, yeah. And we can give them a list and they can go through and look at spiritual gifts and say, oh, okay, maybe I'll even just go ahead and tap this person and say, hey, would you like to be a greeter? So there's lots of ways to be able to use it.
Yeah, the one thing that this is like the experience that I had seen. A lot of people, they'll hear, so you get this tug at your heart. You're convicted on Sunday, right? You're sitting in there and something resonated and you've got the tug at your heart. So then you look for somebody after service. Go talk to the pastor or someone you know that's on staff. So you go talk to them. So then they're inundated. The line's too long. There's 10 people in line to talk to that person. So you try to connect. So while you do that, either you do connect and hope for a follow-up, or you just say, you know what? I'm too busy. I'm not going to do that. So then you walk away. So then you go home and you go to their webpage and you're like, what was that thing that I wanted to do? Or how do I get a hold of someone? And so then you do that. And then, so now you either can't find it or you do find it and then you hope for a callback. But that person on staff may have 1,000 people that have called them that week, especially if it's a time of disaster or whatever, or a season like in the winter when a lot of people you were convicted, you made your act, you moved out and tried to do it. The follow-up wasn't that quick. So then I said, I don't think I'm going to do it. So then you left with, I was inspired and I left with guilt because now I didn't do it and there I go again. That's what we want to remove. Like, we don't want you to have that experience. We want you, when you're motivated or you have the idea, you do it right now and you're like committed. I put it in there, it's approved, and you're off and running. And that's the behavior we want. Like, we want it to be real time because we want that life change, like that good behavior response. That's what we're shooting for. And then what'll happen then is everybody, I'm hoping that the fire catches the church again, right? And so we are motivated. We've got that good response. It becomes habitual. We're out there in the community. The walls are breaking down. We're making connections through affinity. We're doing all this stuff together. And then now we're all one church together, very active in the world.
And that's it too, is we talked a little bit earlier about, so if a person's at home and they're like, man, I really want to go canoeing, and man, I just don't know anybody, I moved to the area, they're able to jump on, create, hey, we want to go canoeing. And then people that have that sort of skill, or actually it's their affinity, and they can go ahead and they'll get an email, hey, go canoeing. And the next thing you know, you show up at the launch site and there's 22 people and Joe's got 22 new friends. And that's kind of some of the things. And I know there's some things that we're also looking at in this next bill that I don't know that we're at, but it's going to be neat. It's going to build in that attraction to the app, and people are going to be checking it and want to be able to see, oh, hey, that's coming up, or I'm driving through town, to have the ability that, all right, this is going to be happening in such and such week. I got to remember that. Let's go ahead and log that.
Yeah. So we haven't really focused on sales or fancy web pages or any of that. We've been really like boots on the ground, working with churches, trying to make this work. And so we're just now kind of getting to the mode of let's go out, because it's all about the more people that use it, the better off it works. And so now we're kind of shifting our focus, building a next generation, and now we're going to try to talk to as many people as we can to try to grow it, to get people in there to use it. And so we have a web page. It's HisKingdom.info. That'll tell you like the overview. You can get a hold of me from there. There's an email and a contact and all that there. And Ty's on there too. Did you know you were on there?
That's new to me.
And no, he knew he was on there. So we have that, but it's not a super fancy page. It does talk about what it is. But what I'd love to do is, if you are interested at all, just talk to one of us. We'll talk. We can come to your church. We can get online. We can talk to you, show you how to do this stuff with your community. We want to be able to. We could talk about, there is a cost associated with it, but we're trying to keep costs low so more people use it. Our goal isn't like to be wealthy, man, and all that. Our goal is to be wealthy someday in heaven. And so we're focusing on that. Like, the reward is the long-term reward in my life. That's his goal too. It's the motivation, the church working together.
And I just want to jump in there too, is church, because now that I'm part of the largest church in Kokomo, it's neat to see these little churches that that they look at you, and I mean that in a good way. So they're watching your moves, and so now to be able to give this to a smaller church and empower them to be able to go ahead and partner up now and give them a resource to be able, for a low cost. And that's the thing, is we don't want to be, and I'm not going to obviously name other platforms. Thank you. I'm not going to name other platforms that charge an exorbitant amount, which they can't even afford, so then they feel disadvantaged. We want to go ahead and we want to help them out and give them literally a platform so that they can serve and they can communicate and they can grow groups. And what we say here at Crossroads, one of the things that we truly believe is that the best group for you might not even be based out of Crossroads. It might be in your locale. So if you're on the northwest side of town and there's another church there, the collaboration of churches now, you create these groups that are multi-church based. And now, truly, again, what does that do? That shows about His kingdom.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know there's some churches out there that get a little nervous when you talk about church beyond my walls and people looking around at other churches and doing other things. But what we've seen is the opposite of that. They come home to your church because they have family there. You're the one that sparked that movement anyway. Right, you're all about community. So that it's like when you travel abroad. Like, if anybody's ever traveled internationally, it's wonderful to see all that other stuff. But when you get home, it feels good to be home, and that's what we see people experience. Like, they go out and serve, and they have friends everywhere else, but when they come home, they're home. And so, and we are fostering that feeling too through this, right? And you'll have affinity groups that come or common interest groups that come out of your own church, and you'll meet people that you never would have met because you served together or you had an affinity you didn't know. I mean, can you imagine trying to meet 2,500 people and know all their hobbies? That'll never happen. You'll never be able to do that. But now you can kind of create something and find that out. So there was something else that you said that I was trying to think of. The one thing too that we've seen with the churches was I just drew a blank. Sorry.
That's all right. I mean, when you said that, I was thinking about some of those hobbies, some of those little obscure hobbies, like a gentleman that I was talking to in his late 50s, early 60s, and he's like, yeah, we go ahead and we have RC car races out at our place.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're almost 60 and you're playing with toys.
Yeah.
And then so what I see in that is I see young and old. I mean, generations coming together because of a common interest. And who would normally think that someone of that age would go ahead and mix? And so this is just that tool.
Yeah, it is. And go ahead. We're getting close to time, and I don't want to go all the way in and then just shut off. But yeah, as you could tell, we're very passionate about it. Like, this is our life goal. It feels like I said all the way at the very beginning, like, instead of music in the church, like, this has become a passion. It's actually hard to go to a regular job anymore when you're not working on this 100% of your time. I mean, I really am passionate about this now. So it's been life-changing for me. It's really grown me. It's pushed me to the limits, and so it's been a very good experience overall. So
That's awesome. I love that your dream, both of your dream, is to enable other people's dreams. So it's really cool to see that. And one thing that I wrote down, like I said, I'm still scribbling notes, but I just think it's so cool that this inspires people to be part of a healthy family. Like, it's family, it's go out, be part, find your group. But I love that it also encourages exploration. So for me, I like get an itch to go see what's outside my four walls. Like, okay, I'm in this church, but I'm curious, what are people doing out there? So I think it's cool that it's like, it doesn't make me feel ashamed for leaving, but I get to go explore and meet other people and then come back home, like you guys said, home to my regular family, my hub, and then go back. So I think that's really cool. It's cool that that's being celebrated, and it's just making for a rich life for people. It's making them feel good about finding who they are in their sweet spot. I have a scripture that I want to read. I'm going to be cheesy, but it's been on my heart lately, and I just feel like this goes so well with what you guys are sharing. It's Colossians 1:18-20 in the Message version. I love that version because it's colorful. Some days I love it. It says, from beginning to end, God is there, towering far above everything, everyone. So spacious is he, so roomy, that everything of God finds its proper place in him without crowding. Not only that, but all the broken and dislocated pieces of the universe, people and things, animals and atoms, get properly fixed and fit together in vibrant harmonies, all because of his death, his blood that poured down from the cross. So I just think that's cool. That's what you guys do, is help fit broken pieces, people together into vibrant harmonies, and it's a beautiful picture. So thank you guys so much. Wait, what was that?
You need to be our marketing person. That is so perfect.
That's the Bible. I didn't write it. I wish I did. I can paraphrase for you, but hey. So I just want to say thank y'all so much. I know we're going to continue to be in touch. This is definitely a big conversation that is to be continued, and something that I think is going to be part of our life, my life, for years to come. So thank y'all for taking time. If there's anything else you want to add in, that's cool. But you already shared your contact info. This will be up on serveday.today, the website, this video, so we can go back and watch it, and we'll be in touch. So anything to add, you guys?
No, I just want to say thank you. I really enjoyed it. It's fun to tell our story. It's really good to hear the feedback, and so I feel very inspired. So thank you very much. Yeah.
I feel inspired. I'm the inspired one, and I think everybody who's watching is as well. So y'all are my heroes. Thank you so much for being awesome, and I'll see y'all on the next Serve Brew, whatever that is.
Sorry if I just end in prayer. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Father God, we just come before you through Google Hangouts, and God, we thank you for technology, and part of the reason that we're even here is because of technology and how you inspire our hearts. Lord, I thank you that technology can be used in a way that can motivate your people to do the things, God, that you dream of. And God, as you put that into our hearts, Lord, I just ask that we become convicted in a way and we actually take action. And Lord, I just thank you for Tori. I thank you for Ark. I thank you for all those that are coming together to see your kingdom, God, glorified. It's in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Awesome. See you. Bye.